Yeah, I'm an editor and I never go in front of the camera and I'm not really excited about this at all.
All right. Ready, Ed?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right.
Welcome to the second
Bada Cast.
Bada Cast.
It's time for the Bada Bing Podcast. Like and subscribe. And now, here are your hosts, Pat and Brian.
We have a special guest with us. Cheers. What is our guy's name?
Ed Pickart
Pickart
of Motionpost.
of Motionpost.
This is his office, and he's graciously invited us to shoot some of our podcasts here.
Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, that we've created.
But we work a lot with Ed, and we love working with Ed, right?
Love it. Ed's great.
He's a great editor.
We bring projects to him. Doesn't matter what it is. He's always game to do it. He has a great eye. He has a great sense of how things should be timed out. What cuts to use, what takes to use.
By the way, I don't know if we said it. He's an editor.
You're
Ed the editor.
You're
Ed the
too
editor.
kind. Thank you very much.
No, it's true.
You're really good.
It's always fun working on your stuff. This is one of the things we're working on right now. A spec spot.
Yep.
Which is really, I think, going to end up being really, really funny.
Yeah, we were just working on it earlier today, and stay tuned. We'll post that soon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But Ed, how the heck did you get into this business? How does a guy like you get into this business?
Well, when I was growing up, my father bought me a bicycle, and I rode it around a whole bunch, and then here I am now, an editor, video editor. Yeah,
That's
my life story.
Great
right there.
story.
That's how he got into the business.
Wanted to shorten it. You just kind of.
I appreciate that.
I didn't know where that was going to go, but I liked it.
Ed, did you go to school for it?
No, yeah, I went to Columbia College here in Chicago. I did a short stint in the Army during peacetime. No big deal back in the 80s, and then went to school for having no idea what I wanted to do down in Florida. And although I grew up here in the Chicagoland area, I ended up down there for a couple of years. And then down there, I met some kids that were doing an independent movie. They were just shooting their own movie. I think they were shooting it on VHS or something, and it was like supposed to be a wartime Vietnam horror movie, and we were all kids. And I got a taste of what that was like, and it was really, really fun. I never saw the movie. I ended up moving out of Florida before it ended up happening. But I immediately, when I came to Chicago, signed up at Columbia College here in Chicago, which back then was not as big as it is now. And it was much more affordable and easy to get into. And started taking film classes. And I also was an art major at the time and thought that I would be maybe working in model making or sculpture, doing, I wanted to be like, when I was very young, I wanted to be Michelangelo. None of that really was in my wheelhouse.
You're still an artist.
What I found was that editing fulfilled that sort of sensibility in me and gave me that kind of satisfaction that working in other mediums did, but was much more likely to lead to a lucrative career.
Gotcha.
And
You're rich.
Well, okay.
What kind of car do you drive, Ed?
In relative terms, right?
Like Scrooge McDuck jumping into the giant pool of money.
Yeah. Yo, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, so at the time, really, I was just looking for something that I would want to wake up and do every day in the morning. Wake up in the morning and want to do every day. And I did a little bit of film editing in school, and then got an internship at a house that was doing commercials, shooting on film and editing on tape, and finishing on film. And it was a fascinating process. I thought when I graduated from school I was going to be working in film. But almost immediately when I graduated, matter of fact, that same year that I graduated, 1990, was when the first Avid came out, the nonlinear computer editing. And within a few years, I was working in a post house and had one of the first Avids in the Chicago production industry. At a a production company called Orbis Broadcast.
And how much did that
It was
system
great,
cost?
great.
Not to interrupt you, but how much did that system cost?
About $250,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, but the linear system that we were working on at the time was a $2 million system.
Wow. Yeah.
And not capable nearly of what the
Avid could do.
Avid would eventually become, right?
Thinking of what that cost with inflation numbers now, my mind explodes. I mean, it's crazy.
So then they bought me, literally the owners. So I was working on the night shift as an assistant editor in a linear editing finishing room, doing broadcast TV and other things for Orbis, for this production company, working primarily in medical education. And I was ambitious, so I went to the boss. I knew that the Avid was out, the new computer editing was out, and I came in early one day before my night shift started and went into the boss's office and said, "You need an Avid, and I'm the guy to run it." And he said, "Get the hell out of my office."
But I like your initiative, kid.
And so, but then like a few months later, I went on vacation for 2 weeks. And when I came back, the little closet room that they had me editing tape to tape in to do news style and TV style stuff was gone. It was like the room had been, there was a computer in there. And I thought they had put a producer in there, and I panicked. And I was like, oh my God, I'm fired. I came back from vacation and I went into the boss's office, and I guess my edit suite is gone. What the hell happened? And he goes, "You dope! I bought you an Avid. Go in there and start working on it." And so, Avid was the first successful broadcast nonlinear system.
Right.
This was before it was actually even really broadcast quality. Skip forward 10 years, we're talking 2002, 2003. We're starting to work in. And I don't know exactly the dates here, but in things like ProRes and some of the other less lossy compression formats, and eventually after that ended up HD, and here we are now in doing very high-end video for what is a fraction of the cost of those first systems.
Oh my gosh!
Yes. So, I mean, to see it from that big, long perspective, it is kind of amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember editing. Nonlinear editing scared the heck out of me because I had no concept of it when it came out, and the cost of linear editing, to have an edit suite, you had to be an edit house.
Yeah.
To have an edit suite, because it was like $1 million to $2 million.
Well, that's what's happened to the industry. I think that, looking back at history, my first job was my second job was at a company that had about 60 or 80 employees at its height. And
it was just an edit house?
And it was production and post.
Production and post, okay.
But we had one online finishing suite and a couple of other edit systems and a couple of Avids. When the technology is that sophisticated and that expensive, basically an industry will pool that talent necessary and the money necessary to create or to have that capability, and then that someone turns that into a business and shares out that expense and that talent pool. Yeah. As things get more commoditized, as things get more affordable, then the industry has fragmented. So now that you have small boutiques, lots of little ones, because this system is really only about $20,000, 1% of the cost of the first system that I worked on.
Oh my gosh!
So
and it's more powerful. You do much more many
10 times
things.
more powerful. It's very much like they say that you could, that you had more computing power in your phone than they had on the first Apollo moonshot. Right? This advance of technology. I think that my whole point of this is that it's important to learn from that, to understand that the technology is always going to advance, and to try and keep up with that and understand where it goes. And we are looking at the same, I think, well, maybe not exactly the same, but a kind of evolution that will rhyme with those past advances, those past experiences that I've had when we're talking about AI's involvement in production now. Right now, everybody's saying, oh, AI sucks and it's not going to go anywhere, and it can't replace a person, it can't replace an editor. No, it can't. But you figure 5 years from now, it's going to be even better, and 10 years from now, it's going to be even better. And so the question is, what do we do as service providers and as creatives, or maybe as creatives and then as service providers, to stay up and and figure out how to make those tools stronger and be relevant.
Right.
Because are they going to replace us? Yeah, I think with some things, AI is going to replace some
I thought you meant
aspects.
robots.
Well, it's the old, right, our robot overlords, right? I think my whole point, the reason that I like to talk about my history of where I came from and where we are now is helping to inform people where we're going to go and what you do about it.
Yeah.
What I did when I first started barely resembles what I'm doing now, except for the fact that it's still cutting together motion picture, right? It's still I've done all different aspects of the industry, but ultimately it comes down to making decisions about what to cut to next.
Yeah.
And everything else has just been the tool. Back when I first started, it was a very labor-intensive process that you had to do. You had to make every decision and do everything manually. Technology's come along to make that decision-making easier, to make doing variations and choices more easy for clients to understand. And it hasn't decreased the volume of work because you're more flexible. You're just asked to do more in the same amount of time, right? So we know that that's going to happen. That was one of the big fallacies of the Avid. Everybody was talking about the fact that it was like, word processing for video, and now I could quickly cut together a sequence in half a day that it would have taken me a week to accomplish with dissolves in film. And so now I was going to be able to do my job in 2 days and take the rest of the week off. Well, no way.
I have a question for you.
But there is some truth in that it did make the process quicker, but
that
more
just meant
complication.
you were expected to do more.
Yeah.
In the same amount.
Right. You can never get ahead, right? It's
right.
always...
And so that's what's always going to happen with these tools that make things easier.
Right.
And I think that's an important thing to understand, is that yes, things are going to be easier, but that just means that we're going to be asked to do more. That's okay. That's just something that is part of the process. There's this really appropriate analogy of the turn of the 20th century where you have vast technological changes that uproot industries, and the people that survive are the ones that are able to see it coming and adapt. Yeah. And that is, and I don't know that these dates are exactly right, but it's something like in 1890, there was one car on the road. Sure. And by 1910, there was one horse on the road.
That's amazing.
In 20 years or less, you had a complete change of the transportation industry entirely on a personal level. And you always talk about the buggy whip manufacturers, right? The guys that made buggy whips. Yeah. In less than a generation, they had no relevance. The smart ones that were making carriages and buggy whips in 1895 were making cars and other devices, related devices, in 1905, right?
Now they make whips for production crews. Shoot faster, move faster. Next shot. We're behind schedule. Go, go, go.
And that's how you look at AI as a tool,
right?
To figure out how is this going to change. I may very well do what I do in a very different way, but the sensibility is still going to be important that I maintain. Gotcha. And that's what I think we need to hang on to if we're worried about losing our position to AI.
Right. And I think you have to be flexible in this day and age, especially in the production business. In our business.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be flexible and able to use and utilize whatever tools are out there, because people know what tools are out there too.
Yeah, the client base, the audience, everybody's much more sophisticated than they used to be. Everybody knows what Adobe is. Everybody knows what Photoshop is. Most people know what Premiere is. I've had people that pick it up, producers pick it up, or clients, pick up Premiere and put shots together in a way that helps them communicate to me what their choices are. Matter of fact, this was something where one of your producers that you got involved with this, he's like, I've never really done this before, but I know I wanted these shots in a specific way to start and stop. And so he put just a couple of shots together in Premiere that were able to communicate to me.
But
I don't,
just
I like that. I actually like it when I can have more people involved.
That makes sense.
In using the tools.
Yeah. But just because, and I've always said this, and I said this a long time ago, and I still abide by this. Just because you can know how to push the buttons or use the software does not make you an editor.
Well, no, but everybody has a sensibility that they need to communicate, right?
True.
So the tools, the accessibility of the tools nowadays allow allow people to play around with their ideas in a way that makes things easier for me, because I believe that everybody has some creativity in them.
I think so too.
And that all they need is the language or the tools to be able to communicate that creativity. And I really love it when somebody comes to me that maybe has no real experience in this before, but they have something in their head because they saw it on a show and they want to translate it into their own message, right. Or they just came up with some cool idea that would never occur to me. And that's what excites me. And sometimes, nowadays, I think what we're going to find is, again, going back to AI, that what they're going to do is they're going to describe it to AI in a way that allows them to refine their ideas and then bring it to me, where I can bring those years of experience of what I know works and what doesn't, or I can help help refine that, and then use my tools and my knowledge of how to make things happen and what works and what's possible, what's legal, as far as, when I mean legal, as far as like because there are still technological limitations to compression and broadcast television and all that stuff that you need to have an understanding of, that those clients or those creatives don't have to understand, and then it's up to me to interpret. And that I find very exciting, being able to interpret other people's ideas and bring them to fruition.
Well, hey, Ed, thank you so much for being on this and doing this with us.
This was really fun.
With us.
Really fun.
Yeah, we love working with you.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of cool things happening.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff together.
To the future.
Yeah, to the future.
Stay tuned for another Bada
Cast.
Bada Bing.
Your way soon.
Is that what we're going to call it?
I like Bada Cast.
All right, take care.
Motionpost. What's your website?
www.motionpost.tv.
Great
as in television.
Great editor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.